Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to talk about something that I think we all need a little more of in our lives: inspiration. We're going to dive into some truly incredible stories of people who faced impossible odds and didn't just survive, they thrived. These aren't just feel-good tales. They're powerful reminders of the strength we all have inside us. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's get inspired together. First up, let's talk about a man named J.K. Rowling. Wait, you're thinking, I know this story. But do you really? Before she became a household name, Joanne Rowling was a single mother, struggling to make ends meet. She was living on state benefits, battling depression, and felt like a complete failure. She had this idea for a story about a boy wizard, but it seemed like a distant dream. She wrote the first Harry Potter book in cafes, with her baby daughter sleeping in a stroller beside her. And the rejections? They came pouring in. 12 publishers turned her down. 12. Imagine getting that many no's for something you poured your heart and soul into. It would be so easy to give up, to think, well, maybe this just isn't good enough. But she didn't. She believed in her story. Finally, a small London publisher, Bloomsbury, took a chance on her. The rest, as they say, is history. What I love about this story is that it wasn't an overnight success. It was born from rock bottom, from perseverance, and from an unshakable belief in a dream. It's a testament to the fact that your current circumstances don't define your future. Next, I want to share the story of Aron Ralston. You might have heard of him, the guy who got his arm trapped by a boulder while hiking alone in a remote canyon in Utah. For 5 days, he was stuck. 5 days. Imagine the physical pain, the dehydration, the sheer terror and hopelessness. He had told no one where he was going. He rationed his tiny amount of food and water, hoping against hope that someone would find him. As the days wore on, he began to lose hope. He even recorded farewell messages for his family on his video camera. But then something shifted. He realized that if he wanted to live, he had to do the unthinkable. Using the dull blade of his multi-tool, he had to amputate his own arm to free himself. It's a gruesome thought, but it's also a story of ultimate survival. After freeing himself, he still had to rappel down a 65-foot cliff and hike for miles before he finally found other hikers who could get him help. Aron's story is an extreme example, but it teaches us about the will to live and the incredible lengths the human spirit will go to when faced with a life or death situation. It makes you ask yourself, what boulders are holding me back, and what am I willing to do to get free? Now let's pivot to a story about a different kind of courage, the courage to challenge the status quo. Let's talk about Malala Yousafzai. As a young girl in Pakistan, all she wanted to do was go to school. But the Taliban, who had taken control of her town, banned girls from attending school. Instead of accepting this, Malala began speaking out. She started an anonymous blog for the BBC, detailing her life under their rule and her views on promoting education for girls. Her voice grew louder, and she became a target. At just 15 years old, a gunman boarded her school bus, asked for her by name, and shot her in the head. It was an act meant to silence her forever, but it did the exact opposite. Miraculously, she survived, and instead of hiding in fear, she became an even more powerful advocate for education. She co-founded the Malala Fund, a non-profit to fight for every girl's right to education. And in 2014, at the age of 17, she became the youngest ever Nobel Prize laureate. Malala's story is a powerful lesson in courage and conviction. It shows that one voice, no matter how young, can spark a global movement. It reminds us not to take our own freedoms for granted and to use our voices to speak up for what is right. Let's switch gears and talk about the world of business and innovation. Everyone knows the name Walt Disney. We associate it with magic, happiness, and childhood dreams. But Walt's journey was far from a fairy tale. His first animation studio, called Laugh-O-Gram, went bankrupt. He was once fired from a newspaper because his editor said he lacked imagination and had no good ideas. Can you even fathom that? After his first failure, he moved to Hollywood with just a few dollars in his pocket. He and his brother Roy started the Disney Brothers Studio. They created a character called Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, which was a huge hit. But then, in a devastating business deal, he lost the rights to the character to his distributor. He was left with nothing again. His entire animation staff hired away from him. It was on the train ride home from this disastrous meeting that he reportedly sketched a new character to replace Oswald, a little mouse named Mickey. Even after Mickey Mouse became a success, the path wasn't easy. He risked everything, borrowing heavily, to create the first full-length animated feature film, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Everyone called it Disney's Folly, predicting it would be a massive failure that would ruin him. It went on to become a monumental success. Walt Disney's life was a roller coaster of incredible highs and devastating lows. His story is the ultimate example of resilience and creative vision. He taught us that failure isn't the end. It's often a necessary detour on the road to success. Finally, I want to talk about someone who redefines our perception of physical limits, Bethany Hamilton. As a young teenager, she was a rising star in the world of professional surfing. Her future was incredibly bright. Then, at age 13, while surfing in Hawaii, she was attacked by a tiger shark. The attack was brutal. She lost her left arm almost to the shoulder and lost over 60% of her blood. It was a miracle she even survived. For most people, that would be the end of a surfing career. How could you possibly paddle, balance, and compete at a professional level with only one arm? But Bethany's passion for the ocean was stronger than her fear and her perceived limitations. Just 1 month after the attack, she was back on her surfboard. 1 month. It's almost unbelievable. She had to completely relearn how to surf, how to paddle, how to balance, all with one arm. It was an incredibly difficult and frustrating process. But she didn't give up. 2 years later, she won her first national title. She went on to compete as a professional surfer against the best in the world, proving that her spirit was far more powerful than her physical loss. Bethany's story isn't just about surfing. It's about adapting, about refusing to be defined by a tragedy, and about finding a new kind of strength you never knew you had. It shows that our greatest setbacks can become the source of our greatest triumphs. So, what do all these stories have in common? They're all about people who refuse to let their circumstances dictate their destiny. A writer who was told no a dozen times. A hiker who did the impossible to survive. A young girl who stood up to terror for the right to learn. An innovator who failed his way to success. A surfer who wouldn't let a devastating injury keep her from the waves. These stories show us that resilience, passion, and courage are not superpowers reserved for a select few. They are muscles that we all possess, and they grow stronger every time we face a challenge and choose to keep going. When you're feeling down and you feel like the world is against you, remember these stories. Remember the human capacity for greatness. Your story is still being written, and you hold the pen. Every single day is a new page, a new opportunity to be the hero of your own life. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today and letting me share these incredible stories. I hope they've left you feeling as motivated and inspired as they leave me. If you have an inspirational story that has changed your life, I would love to hear about it in the comments below. Let's keep this positive conversation going. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Until next time, stay strong, stay inspired, and keep writing your own amazing story. See you soon.